Hey guys, welcome to the show. Where's My Masculinity? Brought to you live today from the top of Table Mountain. Forgive the weather, it's messing up with our lighting. So I've got Pums with me, behaving. So, on that rather energetic note, let's get to the topic. Um, what I wanted to ask you, first of all, thank you for coming onto the show. Makeup artist, did you good and everything? Good. Masculinity and vulnerability. Dum dum. In your experience, why is it that men are not vulnerable?
Mm. Wow. I think it's a combination of things. I think people in general, specifically black men for me, are not taught that. So, like, when you're growing up, the way we treat, even the way that we treat girl children versus the way that we treat boy children. If a girl is crying or she falls and she cries and it's okay. It's like, oh, come to mama, whatever, and we soothe the baby until the baby stops crying. Lindile is a 3-year-old boy, and the same thing happens to him. Yewena, bangumsindo indoda ekhaya, So I think it's just the way that life has always been. Like you don't know, you don't even know what it means to be vulnerable. And then it becomes awkward because at some point in your life it becomes necessary, but it's something that you don't know, something that you've never been exposed to, and then yeah, man, and then things fall apart from there. Essentially, yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah. For you personally, either in your personal relationships or through the ones that you've seen your friends go through, how has the lack of vulnerability from men sort of like made things fall apart? Because I think one of the things I'm very keen to understand is how our lack of vulnerability then affects yourselves in the context of a relationship, a friendship, a marriage, whatever the case may be.
Um, I think if you know me, you know that I am about experiencing people in their totality. So I will love everything about you, the good, the bad, the ugly, the whatever. And I think what then happens, and for me specifically in the relationships that I've seen and the relationships that I've had, is that it almost there's a it almost just ends surface deep. And I think for someone who desires more than that, it becomes a bit of an issue because, like, yes, we love each other. Also, let me not say this word because that's a whole nother story altogether. But yes, we are in this place where we've decided to be, but because you are not fully vulnerable or you're not naked, so to speak, in front of the other person. Um, there's just that I always feel like I haven't gotten to the real you. And it becomes a thing where I keep on pushing because I want that. I want that. I want to get to that place where we're both like, dude, I am scared. I am scarred, but this is me. And from then on, we can sort of, work things up if we're right at the bottom. So when we're both being essentially people that we're not towards each other, it's just like, what the hell is this? And essentially, what is the point then? If we're being honest with each other, then what is the actual point if none of us are willing to go beyond this point?
Linked to that, I believe that the beginning of vulnerability to another person starts with vulnerability with oneself, right? Being able to be honest with yourself, um, acknowledging your own baggage, your own stuff, and all of that kind of thing. So, if you were to give masculinity an assessment on whether it's vulnerable with its own damn self to begin with, what would you say?
I don't think it is. I don't. There you go. You see, this is what happens. This is what happens in niggas when you tell them the truth. This is exactly what happens. They're like, how dare you? I don't think men are honest with themselves. Firstly, because I'll start with you. I don't think I'm not saying Lindy is not honest with themselves, guys. Please. But I feel like you alone are scared of showing you're scared of meeting you.
Right.
And therefore you just are diddly daddling about this life and you're going on as if, everything's okay. And then your immediate circle, they also don't know you. So your friends, even amongst yourselves, y'all niggas ain't vulnerable. In 10 years, yeah, party, yeah, business, yeah, maybe if you're lucky. How's your marriage or whatever? There'll be a random guy who's interested in people's well-being, but even then, I don't think it comes from a place of honest concern. I think it comes from this little facade of we're boys, and essentially the right thing to do is to check up on someone. And I'm like, oh, Lindy, how's everything? Lindy's like, no, Nishap, everything's okay. And then you go about your business as if, that's it. So, like, you don't have vulnerable relationships with yourselves. You don't have vulnerable relationships with each other, which then leads to niggas not calling each other out on bullshit because we're not at that level. We are at this place, man, where you guys are at, and it's strange. So, like, it's just a weird thing of we care-ish, or we do enough for ourselves to believe that we care about the other people. And that's not how it works. That's not how you care about someone. And that's, well, at least for me, it's just, yeah, man, it's made in China. These friendships
bound to not last long.
you know what I mean?
On the flip side, what I also want to ask is then, on the vulnerability, why do you think then masculinity is also so fragile, right?
Do you really want? Yeah.
Yes, tell us. That's why we got you here to just.
Oh man. Funny enough, today actually in the morning, there's this lady called Ayanda Buroto or something. She's an actress on Isibaya, and she was talking about how masculinity, maybe on your next topic, masculinity needs women to thrive. Um, so it's not something that works in isolation.
Right.
So yes, but next time we'll talk about that. For today, we'll talk about why masculinity is a little fragile. I think because I think it's not people. I don't think people understand what it means. I don't think that people understand, or essentially people haven't defined for themselves what masculinity means, because I don't think that there's a single definition for what a man is. Or so I just feel like people need to be at a point where they are, number one, honest enough with themselves to be that this is the type of person I want to be, and then everything else grows from there, as opposed to the world having told you it's my window that you cut the grass and you change the globe and whatever, and that's why when I changed the globe myself, niggas like, oh, why you never call me, you couldn't the globe, like I'm just like, it ain't even that deep though. Like, I was just changing my globe, because you know what I mean. So and men attach being a man to physical acts or things that they are physically able to do, i.e., provide or fix the globe or cut the grass. Whereas it goes so much deeper than that. So that's why when you're, I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna have to say this. That's why when you're short and you can't change the globe, or you need to get in a chair, then then you touched in your stool because you can't do that, so that's, and then, or when you are at a certain point in your life where maybe you've lost your job or whatever and you can't physically provide for your family, for whatever, then you're attached in your studio because lento kuthiwa indoda iyayenza mina ngikhona ukuyenza, whereas I think moving away from societal definitions of what masculinity is and people looking deep within themselves to define who they are and take up those spaces in society would, hey man, it would alleviate so much. Then there'd be no guys who are out here like, oh, I'm not going to get on the chair because I'm short, I'm going to change the globe. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's why people are fragile, because it's literally physical things. And if you're physically unable to do that, then it's just like, oh, I guess I'm not a man.
And for you personally, what are the key things if you're to have a wish list that
Let's go shopping.
masculinity needs to introspect and change in itself?
I think honesty. I think as people, men need to be honest with themselves, and I think that's where it starts. So if you're honest with you about you and all the places of your life and of your heart that you're scared to visit, then I think everything else sort of grows from there. I think honesty is a big part, and I think y'all niggas need to be accountable for shit, like, cause like, you know, I don't see in your circles, well, at least the circles that I have seen, I don't see people calling each other out, and I'm lucky to be exposed to people like yourself and Kat, and I know Kat did it the other day in the group where he was like, no, that's not how you know. Yeah. So I was like, yes, man. Yeah. Do we need that? We need people who are like, no, Dindles, that's not how you go about something. That's not how you treat other people, females, mothers, kids, whatever the case is. I think it's important for people to hold each other accountable to this manhood that you guys are so precious about. So I think honesty, accountability, and I think love, man. It's important. It's important for you to love yourselves. I'll always go back to oneself because that's essentially where everything flows from. And I think it's important for you guys to love each other and truly understand and define for yourselves what love means. Because you're like, oh, man, you got me a 6-pack of Heineken. You must really love me. No. I think it goes way beyond that, and that's probably a very silly example. But I think you need to choose to each other, and then help each other out that way. Yeah, man. That's what I think.
One more question. Yes. So in the context of companionship, etc., right? Mm-hmm. Today, as it stands, do you, as a woman, believe, for your own happiness, for your own peace, for your own fulfillment, that being with a man is a compromise for you?
Are you ready? Yes and no. Okay. So I'll start with the yes part, because I think yes, my current the yes is based on the caliber of men that I have met to this date, the caliber of people that I have dated to this date. So I think in that regards, even if the relationship, I think at the time probably made sense, and Bonnie and Clyde and all of that, I think there were always pockets of spaces where I felt like, what am I even doing here, you know? But me being me, you're like, save him. So I'd say yes in that way. I do feel like it's a compromise, because I think personally I work so much harder at being a better person for the other person than all the people that I've dated have been, and it's not on their fault. It's not their fault at all. So, and then no, in that I still believe there is, there's a somebody, in the 6 billion that is in the world. Yeah. I know it's only 2 of them left, because all the others are married, or like they're trash, or they're passed on. I know there's 2 niggas left.
All 2 of you at the top of Table Mountain. Show yourself.
And you know what I mean? So, of the 2, I do believe that there is someone who yearns for the type of commitment, the type of vulnerability, and the type of love that we need as people. So I believe there's someone who's looking for the same thing as me. Okay. So when that happens, then I'm like, yes. All these niggas was worth it. All y'all, shame. Look at me now. So, you know? So I definitely, that's why I say for now it's a yes, but,
Okay.
you know, looking out into the world, probably a no.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Any shout outs you want to send out?
Guys, it's been wonderful. Thank you. Bye.
And we out.